Bienvenidos. Welcome to Spanish with Liliana. Today we're going to talk about the Spanish accents and the rules of stress. As I explained before, all the letters are pronounced in Spanish with very few exceptions, and generally speaking, the stress of the voice falls on the last syllable, while the accent marks are used for the exceptions. We'll start with the easiest accent. It's called la virgulilla, and it's the tilde sign that goes above the letter N, and this becomes ñ, and it's part of the Spanish alphabet. There's really not much to it. This is the only letter that uses it, and we have plenty of words with the letter. For example, niño, niño, it means boy. Baño, baño, it means bathroom. So this one's fairly straightforward. We'll take a look at the next sign, and it's la diéresis. Diéresis, or it's also called crema. And these are the two little dots that go above the letter U when we want it to sound in these syllables. We, or we. If the little dots are not above the U, these syllable combinations would sound like ge and gi. I've mentioned this sound before on my Spanish reading course. I'll leave the link to that video on the description. And much like the previous signs, you'll only see this accent above the U in these combinations. So it's fairly straightforward. We have cigüeña, for example. Cigüeña, cigüeña, and it means stork. We have pingüino, 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 and it means penguin. If the diéresis were not above the U, these words would sound like cigueña and pinguino. Cigueña and pinguino. So it sounds very different. So remember, when you see the little dots above the U, we're going to make the U sound. Let's move on to the third accent, and it's the most difficult of the list, is la tilde. And this accent mark is the tilted line above the vowels. This is only used on the vowels. It doesn't go above any consonants. And it doesn't change the vowel sound. It's used for the rules of stress within the syllables. And we'll take a look at plenty of examples as we move on. Remember that at the beginning I mentioned that the stress of the voice falls on the last syllable. Well, the tilde is used when there are exceptions to the rule. For example, México, México. Without the tilde on the E, it would sound different. It would sound like Mexico, Mexico. And we'll take a look at more of these examples so that we practice. Let's look at some of the rules. Words that end in N, S, or a vowel will have the stress of the voice on the second to last syllable. And we will start counting the syllables from the end of the word. Let's look at some examples. We have the word hola. Hola, it means hello, and it has two syllables. La and o. La is the first syllable, o is the second syllable. Remember that the H in Spanish is silent. We have meses, meses, and it means months. And this one ends in S, and it also has two syllables, ses, me. Ses is the first syllable, me is the second syllable. And then we have tienen, tienen, which means they have. And again, we have nen and tie. Nen is the first syllable, tie is the second syllable. I have a previous video where I talk about syllables and how they're formed. I'm going to leave the link on the description. Going back to our rule, words that end in N, S, or a vowel will have the stress of the voice on the second to last syllable. So we say hola instead of hola. We say meses instead of meses. And we say tienen instead of tienen. I hope I'm making sense. If you listen to the words, you can hear the difference. One of them has the stress. So we will use the tilde or the accent when we deviate from this rule. Let's look at some examples of the words that end in a vowel, the letter N or the letter S, but have an accent. We already saw Mexico at the beginning, and it's Mexico. And it has 3 syllables. It has co, he, me. Since this word ends in an O, the rule says that the stress should be on the second syllable. So it should be Mexico. Mexico. But for whatever reason, that's not how we wanted it to sound. So we add the accent to the vowel within the syllable that we want to stress. So we want it to sound like Mexico. Mexico. And that's why the E has the accent. Let's look at another example. Alemán. Alemán. It means German. So Alemán has 3 syllables. Man, le, a. Because this word ends in N, the stress should be on the second syllable. And you can see the second one is le. So instead of alemán, this would have been alemán. Alemán. At least that's what the rule says. But we don't want it to sound like that, so we're going to put the accent on the A at the end, and it becomes alemán. Because of the accent, we know we have to stress the last syllable. And the last example here is inglés. Inglés. It means English. And it has 2 syllables. Glés is the first one, in is the second one. The rule says that the stress should be on the second syllable, so it should have been inglés. Inglés. But it's not, it's inglés. But we have to put the accent on the vowel of the first syllable so that we know we have to stress that one instead of following the normal rule. Alright, so at the beginning I said that for the most part the stress is on the last syllable. So for words that don't end in N, S, or a vowel, the stress will be on the last syllable, as in these words. Feliz. Feliz. It means happy. Feliz. It has 2 syllables. Lis is the first syllable. Fe is the second one. So the stress is on lis. And when I said the last syllable, I mean when we write it. So the stress is going to be on lis. Feliz. Otherwise, it would have been feliz. Feliz. And that doesn't sound so good in Spanish. We have abril. Abril. It means April. And again, it has 2 syllables. And the stress is going to be on the last one, which would be number 1. Abril. 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 And then we have azul. Azul. It means blue. And again, it has 2 syllables. And we're going to stress the last one. Azul. Azul. And again, here we will use the tilde or the accent when we don't want to follow that rule. We're going to look at some examples of words that don't end in vowels or the letter N or S. So the stress would be at the end, as we saw previously. But because of the accent, the stress is not on the last syllable. So we will pronounce them differently. We have lápiz. Lápiz. It means pencil. So we have our syllables. And we have the accent on the second syllable as shown on the screen. And that's what we're going to stress. Lápiz. Otherwise, it would have sounded like lápiz. Lápiz. And it's completely different. The second example is árbol. Árbol. It means tree. And again, we have 2 syllables. And we see the accent on the second one as listed on the screen. So that's the one that's going to have the stress. Árbol. Árbol. Otherwise, it would have been as árbol. Árbol. And again, that doesn't sound right. And then we have útil. Útil, which means useful. And again, it has 2 syllables. And we see the accent on the U, so we're going to stress that one, útil. Otherwise, it would have sounded like útil, útil. And again, it doesn't make sense. The accent will help you know how to pronounce the words when reading them. And if you listen to them, the spoken stress will let you know where the accent should go so you write them correctly. I want to talk about vowel combinations. The class that I have on the channel about syllables explains how the letters A, E, O are considered strong vowels and I and U are considered weak vowels. When they're next to each other, the strong vowels will have the stressed. For example, we have reina, reina. It means queen. But the stress is going to be on the E because that's the strong vowel. Re, I, na. This is technically 2 syllables, and I explained why the I doesn't make a separate one on that video. But it's because one is strong and one is weak. We have another example here, igual, igual. It means equal. So again, we have 2 syllables here, igual, and we're going to stress the A on igual, igual. You can hear the difference there, and it's because it's the strong vowel. So if you see a weak vowel plus a strong vowel in any order, they will be part of the same syllable. When you see a diphthong formed by I and U, the weak vowels, the last one will bear the stress. For example, viudo, viudo. It means widower. And again, we have 2 syllables here. And we have, on the second syllable, we have I and U. They're both weak vowels, and the stress will fall on U because it's the last one. Viudo, viudo. There are certain situations where the weak vowel has an accent. So either I or U will have the accent, and they will become strong vowels, and they will create their own syllables. For example, país. País means country, and following the rules of Spanish grammar, A and I should be together in one syllable. But because it has the accent, I moves to its own syllable. So it's going to have 2, and the stress is going to be on the I. País, país. Another example is río, río, which means river. And again, it has 2 syllables because the I has the accent. And the last example is reír, reír. It means to laugh, and it has 2 syllables, and the I has the accent, so it's going to be stressed. Reír. Accents are also used when 2 words are spelled the same but have different meanings. We usually don't add accents to 1 syllable words, but here are a few examples. Más, más means more. Él means he. Sé means I know. But we also have these words with different meanings. And the difference is the accent. Más, without the accent, means but. Él, without the accent, means the. And sé, without the accent, means himself. There's no actual difference on how we pronounce them. You will learn them based on the context of the sentence. But if you've seen these words, it can get a little confusing because you're seeing them the same except with the accent. But this is why they have the accent, is to tell them apart. And then we also have accents on the Spanish question words. And I'll make a dedicated video to question words and how to form questions, but here are a few examples. Que means what. Donde means where. Cómo is how. Cuál is which. Quién is who. And cuándo Cuando means when. I hope this made sense and it's clear. The tilde is a little difficult for even us native speakers, especially when we're writing words, but with little practice and following these rules, you'll get it. Let me know if you have any questions around this topic. Thank you for watching and see you next time.